Hello and welcome to another episode of Grange TV. We have with us Mr. David Roberts, special guest, former IBO, IBF and WBA boxing champion Mr. Daniel Geale, and Robert Whittaker.
Hi.
He's here as well.
I was waiting for more. He didn't give me any more. It was just left in an awkward
We're
pause.
in pretty exclusive company here today, mate. You've been eclipsed. You've been eclipsed. Welcome, Daniel. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Fab.
Thank you very much for coming down, mate.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Rob.
I guess let's kick off. Can you tell us who are you in school? Who are you in high school, Daniel?
High school? I guess the first couple of years in high school, just a regular kid. Probably not. Like I studied. I had to complete everything at school because that was part of the deal. Mum and Dad made it pretty clear early on that if I didn't complete my schoolwork, then I couldn't train, I couldn't fight. So I made sure that I did as much schoolwork as I could, and so I could keep training.
Were you good at school?
I wouldn't say good, but I did everything that I needed to. For me, it was all about sport. I played a lot of other sports as well. Like I was boxing. I started fighting when I was 10 in boxing, and the whole way through I was fighting every year, sort of 10, 15 times a year. But at the same time, I was playing Aussie rules footy in winter, playing tennis, cricket in summer. I used to do triathlons. Pretty much have a go at anything as well, but all at the same time. Just love boxing. The
people you went to school with, would they have said teenage Daniel Geale would have been a world champion boxer?
I think actually it was something recently that just come about. They do in high school, I think it was year 10, they do like a time capsule piece where they get you to write out your goals, and you put it in a little time capsule, they bury it in the ground, and they dig it up, I think 20 years later. So I think it was a couple of years ago now that they dug it up, and actually on that list of paper that I wrote for my goals was to be a world champion boxer. So that was pretty cool, and everybody opened that up. They didn't actually do it. I wasn't there when it happened, but they rung me up and told me about it. They said this is what your goals were as a 15-year-old, and it was pretty awesome to hear that I'd actually completed a lot of that, or pretty much all of that stuff that I had set when I was that young.
Where did that come from? What did your parents do?
Not much really. My dad was a pretty good AFL player as a kid. He never really continued on anything else in sport. He pretty much was a truck driver most of his life. Mum, didn't really do anything. I mean, but they didn't really have to be. They were supportive parents. Whatever I chose to do, they were right beside me. They would help me out, and I guess my dad as well. He always was pretty strict in the fact that he said whatever you do it properly. If you're gonna sort of do something half-assed, don't bother doing it at all.
Did you like competing, or did you like fighting? You know how like some people separate the two. Like, were you, obviously it sounds like you were very competitive. You did just about every sport under the sun.
Yeah, that's it.
but like, did you enjoy more the competition side of boxing, or the fight side of it, I guess?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of a mixture, to be honest. I loved, I was competitive at anything that I did, chess, anything I was doing, I was definitely competitive. But just the fact that I had goals set from an early age, was a big thing. Like, I always wanted to improve every fight, so I was competitive against not only the other guy standing in front of me, I was competitive against myself. I wanted to improve, and I could see where I needed to get to, and that made me strive on a little bit further as well.
So I guess, like, where do you think you got that? Would that be your driving force behind your combat career? Because like that need to just better yourself and be competitive, or is it like a primal instinct in there that you just want to fight?
I don't know if it was. I enjoyed that the fighting aspect of it, but I enjoyed the psychological part of it as well. Being able to break somebody down, not only physically but mentally as well. That was something that I learnt from a pretty young age as well at some of the fights, because I was always that kid as well. Probably as 12 or 13, 14-year-old, where in Tasmania there wasn't heaps of fighters. There was a few back then, but I was constantly fighting bigger kids, older kids, just to get a fight, and that sort of progressed most of my career as I was getting older, 14, 15, 16, like a 16-year-old, I was fighting all the 20-year-olds, 15, 16, I was fighting 20, 30-year-old guys because I had no one else to fight, and at that stage I had to either step up or get smashed, and luckily I stepped up.
Were you a quiet sort of person?
The whole way through, still am. Yeah.
So you were a quiet kid back then?
Yeah, definitely.
I have an interesting question actually for both of you, because you both have more like of a quiet kind of demeanor about you. Yep. You spoke about like the mental warfare, the psychological warfare, the breaking down of people psychologically. Yep. And it's something that you see very prevalent in fight sports. Something that I see, I don't fight, but just from the outside, a lot of times people talk about that psychological breakdown, etc., but it's always from the point of view of the loudest person. But that's not necessarily the case, is it? Like, the loudest person is not necessarily the one that's doing the breaking down.
Yep.
As someone that's more quiet, can you speak on that? And you as well, Rob?
Yeah, definitely. I guess probably one fight that comes to mind as well, like when I fought Anthony Mundine, especially the first time, because of his I guess the outlandish behaviour and the way that he handled things in the lead up.
Can you elaborate on that for some people that might not know exactly?
Yeah, so Anthony Mundine, he tries to get headlines, and he says things to try and I guess make you angry and throw you off, play those mind games before the fight. And he definitely tried that. And I've seen that many times. He done that with his opponents in the press conferences in the lead up to the fight. He'll say things in the media just to piss you off. And a lot of times there were occasions where other fighters would take the bait, and Anthony knew that, and it sort of worked for him as well, because that was his way to be able to, I guess, psychologically break somebody down a little bit. But I seen it pretty early. I think at the first press conference, Anthony was saying some things to me to try and just to get the headlines and that as well, but to see if he could get in my head a little bit, and he just couldn't do it. And I seen it frustrate him. And at that point, at that first press conference, I thought, that's going to work in my favour. And the more he tried throughout the lead up to the fight, the more I didn't care, and it just sort of brushed off me. And he started, and I seen it in his eyes. He started questioning himself and doubting himself. And I thought that was an interesting tactic, especially. What was I? The first time we fought, I was only maybe 30 or something, around that age, maybe even less. But yeah, it was like I'd had a lot of fights up to that stage. I think I had probably maybe 18 professional fights, but 160 odd amateur fights as well. So I'd been in there a lot, but been able to put up with that sort of coverage and pressure in front of the media, I think it was pretty easy.
What's funny is we've actually spoken on this before about like one guy, being very outspoken, trying to get under people's skin, and then the recipient of that, like, not responding to it at all and just ignoring it, and how that backfires almost, how it almost plays against them when they can't get a rise out of you, when they can't get any sort of reaction. It almost they just start vilifying themselves, and it starts to really play against them. We've spoken on this before.
Yep.
That fight, the first fight with Mundine.
Yes.
You were already holding the IBO title.
That's right. Yep.
And had you been made to vacate that because you fought him instead of Golovkin?
No.
But there was talk of that, eh?
That was for the WBA. That was for the WBA where I previously won off Felix Sturm. And I didn't even know about it until I arrived back to Australia, and my management actually said to me, they've stripped you of the title because we're going to take the fight with Mundine. the rematch with Mundine instead of having to fight Golovkin.
Right. So that is okay. Cool. Yep. So that first fight with Mundine, that was for which title then? Because there was
an IBO.
That was the IBO title.
Yep.
Was that? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that the first time 2 Aboriginal people fought for a world title? It'd have to be.
I think it is. Yeah.
Dave, do you know?
Probably.
Yeah, it'd have to be. Surely there wouldn't have been. So that was pretty monumental.
Yep.
And was it that fight when Mundine had said stuff about your Aboriginality?
Yes. Yeah.
How, and you're being Aboriginal yourself, Dave, how is that, like, how is that taken? Like, is that something that can be said? Like, I don't know, like, I'm asking, like, how did that hit you any harder than any of the other stuff you said?
Not really, because I expected him to say anything anyway, and it didn't really bother me what he said. It made me laugh, probably, if anything, because, there were a lot of people around me that got really angry by it, and they couldn't understand why I wasn't getting angry by it as well. But, I guess afterwards, I could let myself get a little bit angrier about it, but, in that whole process, my main goal was the fight. I knew there were a lot of people, the management, promoters, they always like you to talk things up a little bit more than probably what they are. But I made that decision early on that I wasn't going to fall into that category. I was just going to do my thing, and if that wasn't good enough, then too bad.
What was the lead up like in the second fight for you?
Actually, the second fight that was the one where he questioned the Aboriginal people, the Tasmanian Aboriginal people, and he got a lot of flack from that as well, like from his own people as well. He said something about that all the Tasmanian Aboriginals being wiped out, which is it was a pretty horrible thing to say, and a lot of the Tasmanian Aboriginals really took offence to that as well, and
What was your take on that, Dave?
Yeah, no, it was definitely frowned upon. Especially, if you know anything about Australian history, like Tasmania was one of the sort of strongest areas where they tried to sort of really sort of, exterminate the local Aboriginal population down there. And pretty much they've got some really strong activists in Tasmania. And so I'm not sure if you've ever seen the Aboriginal passport. That actually generated from Tasmania. So when Choc did that, it was just like, dude, one of the things that we don't do in Aboriginal to Aboriginal is do that stuff, because that's just like being oppressive again. So I think sometimes Choc, he does some shit, and sometimes he just takes it too far, and especially question someone else's Aboriginality is you don't do that, do you?
No. What's it like growing up in Launceston? Going back to that, like, what's the Aboriginal community like there? Is it a big Aboriginal community? Is it?
No, it's not a big community. I mean, there are a few down there, but it's not a huge community. But I mean, Tasmania, Launceston's beautiful. Like, it's a beautiful area. Like, the best place to raise your kids. Best place to be raised. Very quiet. It's just a big country town, and everybody knows everybody. Which is always a good thing. Probably as I got older, probably wasn't as good a thing because everybody knows everybody else's business. But it is a beautiful place. Apart from the weather, it'd be like the ideal place.
We ran 2 programs similar to the GAP program in Tasmania. Yep. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, man. It's incredible. 2 Aboriginal programs we ran down there. So
sorry, with that, Daniel, did you ever eat mutton bird? Like,
yes.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that stuff, Ab?
I've heard of mutton bird. Actually, that's what I called you the other day. I had it. Like,
cheers to that.
Yeah, so it's a really oily bird, and the elders.
Yeah, I remember you called me a mutton bird because I can't fly and I'm super oily.
Is that why you called it?
That's because we were talking to Khabib's the eagle. I said to him, you should be the mutton bird. But
what bird were you again?
I don't know. Maybe
vulture.
a vulture. Sorry, we got off topic.
No, they used to go, like, actually they still do go when they go mutton bird and catching the mutton birds. They go around the island, and they put their hands down the holes to pull the mutton bird out. Which sometimes
Are they in holes? Are they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never seen a mutton bird.
yeah, they're in the holes.
But there's snakes down there, eh?
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to put your hand down the hole and hope there's no snake in there.
What snake is it that's in there?
I think it could be tiger snakes, just black snakes.
Like snakes that'll do some damage.
The snakes that'll hurt. Yeah.
Did you ever catch them with your hands?
No, I never went out.
Are they good eating?
Yeah, they're not bad. They're not for everybody. Sometimes, some people don't like the oiliness to it. It's very gamey, but I didn't mind it.
Is it like duck?
Yes, a little bit like dark. Maybe, I think a little bit darker type meat, but it's not too bad. Yeah.
In that fight with in those fights with Mundine, can you talk us through the first fight? Because you lost the title in the first fight, eh?
That's right. Yeah.
It was a close fight, but man,
Yeah.
Can you talk us through that fight?
Yeah. I mean, that fight was fun. It was sort of neck and neck the whole way. Probably, if anything, I thought I pressured him the whole way through, but that the knockdown may have cost me. It was just a lapse in concentration, and lost my balance and stuff as he hit me. But I think it was definitely a much more competitive fight. The way I sort of seen it as well, that was probably one of his last really good fights that he had. I think back at that stage, he was pretty good. But after that, I think the media coverage, he preferred that side of things as opposed to the actual fighting or boxing side of things.
Did you feel a contrast between his first and second fight? Was there a big difference?
Yeah, big difference.
In what way?
I think he was definitely not the fighter he was in the second fight.
You noticed it to that extent?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean he was still dangerous. I knew he was always going to be dangerous, but I knew at that stage as well how hungry I was, and I knew the way that he fights as well. He couldn't sustain that competitiveness if I kept the pressure on him, especially in the second fight. In the first fight,
and why is that?
It wasn't his style of fighting. He liked to be given a little bit of range, give him a little bit of room, and he was a lot more comfortable and confident because he had that natural hand speed, natural athletic hand speed. If you give him too much room, he'll just pick you off, and then he'll hold you, and then he'll pick you off and then hold you. But if you're in his face and you're pressuring him the whole way through, and he just doesn't like it. So I knew in the second fight, just stay on him, and he didn't like it.
How good was Mundine at his peak, do you think? Because he is a phenomenal athlete. He's done everything, rugby league and boxing and everything. How you going into that first fight, I guess, and you're going to fight him, but you were the world champion.
Yep. As
well. How formidable compared to other guys that you fought? Because you fought greats as well. You fought Cotto, Golovkin. Storm. So
I mean, Mundine was good, definitely. He naturally talented athlete. I guess the thing that separated him as well from those sort of guys was just that boxing background, that boxing knowledge, boxing background. He got through with that natural ability, where a lot of the other guys, not a lot of the other greats that I fought, they had it all. They had the experience from the amateurs. They had the pedigree. They had more of the coaching as well. That's one thing. We are limited a little bit in Australia with some of the facilities and coaching over here, but we sort of make up with it with that determination, I guess.
When you fought, and then so when you fought him the second time, you won that fight.
Yes.
When you said he deteriorated, you felt that you'd be able to apply your game better than in the first fight.
Yep.
Did you see things in the lead up that you thought he's not going to be the same anymore?
But I just knew that pressure, that sustained pressure, he wasn't going to be able to handle. I guess as he was aging as well, that suited me. I don't know if it was like 8 years younger or something like that, 9 years younger, and I knew that pressure was always going to work in my favour. I knew I was going to be stronger, and I knew the competition that I'd previously been having as well was high class competition, and I just needed to go in there with confidence against him, and I'd be able to get the job done. Add that pressure, and he couldn't handle it.
Who do you think wins out of John Wayne Parr and Mundine, and why?
I've been asked a few times this one, and
have you ever had anything to do with John Wayne Parr, boxing wise, training or anything?
Not really, not a whole lot. To be honest, like I think I've met him a couple of times before, but I haven't done anything with him before. But I think he has that style that may upset Mundine a little bit as well. I mean, he doesn't have obviously the skills, or the pure boxing skills. He definitely does have some, but because he hasn't been in there with so many boxers, it's going to be a little bit different for him. But in saying that as well, Mundine is sort of at the later part of his career, right at the end basically, and I don't. If John Wayne Parr fights a smart fight and puts the right pressure on him, I mean he stops him. I see it. The other thing, if John Wayne Parr doubts himself a little bit, gives him a little bit too much room, Mundine picks him off and makes it an ugly fight, and it ends up winning on points. So I think it could either go, it could go one way or the other. It just depends who applies what they're going to do the best on the night.
Have you had to do with Sakio Bika? Have you trained with him?
A lot, yeah. We've done thousands of rounds.
Does he hit as hard as they say he hits?
Yeah, he's powerful.
It doesn't look like he's not.
He's powerful, and he'll take your head off if he can. That's for sure.
So one of so we had John Wayne Parr on here the other day, and also we were talking about that before. So his 3 losses came from, like, I think it was McLeod, Hamden, and Sakio Bika, and he went 12 rounds with Sakio.
Yep.
And he said he was like the biggest puncher he's ever dealt with, and was in like a haze for a few hours afterwards.
Yeah.
Knowing that, and knowing that he was able to go those 12 rounds with someone like Sakio, does that, what's that indicate for you as far as him and Mundine? How different can you even compare? Are they too different?
They're different fighters, massively different fighters, but everybody knows John Wayne is tough, but it's for Mundine to stop him. I think it's like almost impossible, unless a stoppage can come from cuts, like the damage that John Wayne's suffered over the years with the cuts around his eyes and stuff. If he opens up at all, then that's going to work in Mundine's favour. But I don't think Mundine's got the power to hurt him. Like you said, he's been the distance with Sakio. He's been in some tough fights, so I don't think there's a question about Mundine being able to hurt him at all or stop him. Unless he headbutts him or something, but
I think stylistically though as well, like it's not a great matchup for Mundine, because like Parr is all throughout his kickboxing career has just been pressure, and you just said like your key to defeating that second time was just to take him out of his comfort zone, don't give him that room, stay in his face, and Parr's been super active.
One thing though, and I noticed about Tommy Brown fought Mundine, and Tommy Brown's like, he's a good mate, and he's trained at the gym that I trained at the Grange, and unfortunately when Tommy took the fight with Anthony, his team didn't come and ask me about it. They thought they knew what to do, and Tommy went out there with the intention of putting pressure on Mundine, and it sort of, Mundine knew exactly what was going to happen, because that's what everybody does. The problem was Tommy got in close, not quite close enough, and just sort of stayed there, and that's what happened. He pretty much stayed there, and then Mundine used his speed, caught him with a couple of big punches, and the fight was over. So I mean, Mundine can still bang a little bit, but it's just depending if you can capitalize on that game plan. If you got to pressure him enough, you got to be in his face, you got to
pressure him the right way,
100% the right way.
Can you explain that? Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, you got to put him out of his comfort zone. If you're getting just close enough in range, Mundine will still hit you. If you're getting too close, make him Mundine pull back, transfer his weight on the too far onto the back foot where he's going to lose power. And also, Mundine's got a bit of a dirty tactic as well, where he loves to use his elbow. He turns away from the fighter in front of him, and he'll try and hit you with the elbow. He hit me with plenty of elbows. I don't know if that will work so good against John Wayne Parr, because I think
John Wayne Parr's seen some elbows.
he'll throw a couple of elbows back, I'm sure. But it'll be I guess interesting, because I guess depends which guy can like I was saying can capitalize on their strengths, and if Mundine can use that speed, footwork, keep John Wayne off balance, and John Wayne Parr's put too much pressure on him or not quite enough pressure, then it's going to fall into Mundine's hands.
With the amateurs you spoke about, how good do you think someone like Mundine could have been with an extensive amateur career?
I mean, if he'd been successful in the amateurs, I mean, it's not going to hurt having that sort of experience. Like for myself, like Olympics, Commonwealth Games experience, he went to a couple of world championships. I mean, it's invaluable. Fighting some of the best fighters in the world at an early age only gets you better. Like I knew having that experience when I came back to Australia to fight nationals and anywhere in Australia, man, I grew like 6 feet. Like it makes you feel that much better, and you know what level you need to get to. I mean, the first few times you go overseas and you sort of get pumped a little bit, and then you realise, man, that's the level, that's what I get to. And after that, just make sure I kept growing where I wanted to get. My goal was always to win a medal at the Olympics, like a gold medal at the Olympics. That was the ultimate goal. But going to the Olympics in 2000, man, it was a massive eye-opener, just the level of competition. Then I went to the World Championships in 2001 in Ireland, and the Olympics was a massive event. It was ridiculous, the amount of people that were there. Then the World Championships was like three times that size. It was crazy. Like you got 2 rings running at once, and the level of competition was probably even higher. The other part of it as well, I mean, sometimes close decisions, whether people call it, some people call it corruption, and that's involved in the boxing. I mean, in
boxing, are you sure?
Just a little. But I mean, you could see it, man. Depending on who's meant to win, you can sort of tell what's going on with that. But it's whenever there's money, I guess, involved, it's always going to happen.
I've got a question, just for us like non-boxing experts, I guess, is what's the difference between some of your biggest fights outside of the Olympics and your fights inside, like the Olympic boxing? Like is there a
you mean amateur fights or
what's the difference between the two?
Well, you fought Golovkin as an amateur, and you fought him for the world title.
That's right. Yeah, I fought him at the East Asian Games in 2001, and it was 2014 or 15 or something in the pros. But man, in the amateurs, man, it's a different format. It's like a sprint event versus the pros is a middle distance event. So you have to have massively different game plans, and the styles are massively different as well, because back then I was fighting 2-minute rounds and then 3 minutes in the pros. But I guess the way things are run as well, like because the promoters have a pretty big say in sometimes what happens with close decisions and stuff. The favourite fighter, the money fighter, will tend to get the decision when they need to. Seen that many times. So sometimes you just got to take that out of it. I guess with your sport, Rob, like, you guys have got a better opportunity to make sure it doesn't go to decisions. Where in boxing sometimes, especially at that high level when you're fighting some of the best fighters, man, all you can do is hope, because if it's going to go to decision, man, you got no control whatsoever.
You had a decent amateur record, because you won a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games, which is pretty good. That's high level.
Yep.
And you went to the Olympics, but you lost in the first round, eh?
First round, yeah.
Now you went from that, which to me is fantastic, but that doesn't necessarily, if you just looked at that just by itself, you wouldn't go, this guy's going to unify the belt. So even advice for young guys coming through that may not have done that well in the amateurs. Can you talk about the difference between the two? Like, that's not necessarily, like, you have guys like Mayweather he wasn't gold medalist, but he was highly successful as an amateur. So there were a lot of guys that were highly successful as amateurs that did really, really well as pros, but some that didn't do that well.
That's right. Yep.
And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I guess it's all depending on, I guess that experience, that hunger, determination. There's been many guys that have, haven't even had an amateur fight. They go on to be successful as a professional. But in saying that as well, lots of guys that won gold medals at the Olympics, they go on and win world titles. I mean, it's about that hunger, the determination, what you want to achieve. That driving force. Sometimes as well, like I mentioned about the promoters, if you've got a great promoter behind you that puts the money into you as well, then you definitely do have a bit of a head start in that respect. Obviously, you got to still win every fight, and you've got to do everything you need to do. But that's a tough thing sometimes in Australia. Like, we've got a few good promoters here in Australia, but there's probably not enough to bring the next few generations through at this stage. Like, we need a little bit more money in the sport, and that's going to help it grow.
What did you think of Jai's fight on the weekend? Did you see Jai fight?
I missed that. No. Yeah.
What was it like? Because you were there, eh?
Yeah, I was there. It was honestly, it was beautiful to watch. It was just some great boxing. Jai fought so smart and such a good game. Like, it was just. And I'm not one who watches a lot of boxing. I haven't watched a lot of boxing in my history or even today still. But I was there for the whole card. I watched the whole card, and then when Jai started fighting, it's just you could just see the difference. It was just good boxing, good clean boxing. Jai fought so smart. He just stayed on the outside, kept Flanagan in that mid range, and the entire fight. I think early on he dropped him, and then like kind of chased the kill, almost got swept up into that kill game where he was just like swinging, getting caught a little bit on the inside, but then like quickly just went back on the outside, doing his thing, working a check hook, left straight down the pipe the entire fight, and got the win in the 7th. It was honestly, like, to sum it up, it was just beautiful boxing. Like, yeah.
How much have you had to do with Jai and his dad?
No, not a great deal.
He's heaps younger than you anyways, eh?
He's a little bit younger, yeah.
Come on, mate. He's a lot younger.
Not that old, what do you mean? He's a good kid, definitely. Tons of potential and that. And, So
how good is he compared to the top in that thing? Like, how do you see him?
Obviously if he gets looked after the right way, and he's got the potential to do anything. So, it is tough, like I was saying, like if because promoters can control stuff, and if they see great fighters that are coming through and they don't want them to have a shot, you won't get a shot.
What happens? What do they do?
They just block you. He might get himself to that number 1 or number 2 position, but you won't get a shot at the title. I guess that's the thing sometimes in the sport. The best fighter doesn't get a chance. So unless he's got the right promoters, if he's got the right people behind him, then he'll definitely get his chance.
Did you what's it like sparring, Jai?
It's fun. It feels dangerous, like, the entire time, like, because he hits hard and he's surprisingly quick for how big he is. Especially when I spar him out of season, like, he's a big fella, and like, he's just got some whack on him. You know what I mean? So I have to play, like, I have to really try and focus on my boxing game, and Yeah, you know, he was the guy that opened my eyes to like body shots. Like,
Yeah.
'cause, like body shots are there, and like I was always like, oh, yeah, no one likes to be punched in the body. But then like when you feel like a proper guy that knows how to throw body shots, hits your body, you start
Makes a
to
difference.
you
eh?
start to block them.
That's
You
it.
start to try and block him. But no, it's fun. It's very fun, as well as like he's a good guy. Like we've tried a lot. We don't try to kill each other. We go hard, but we don't try to kill each other. And yeah, it's good. He's very tricky. Yeah, a big thing is just like how technical he is, mixed with like his athletic ability. On top of that, like his long range, his surprising amount of speed, and the whack behind his punch is just dangerous mix.
Can you talk about your two fights with Golovkin?
Yep.
After the first fight with him,
Yeah.
would you have said like this guy's going to go the whole way?
To be honest,
Did he
like,
stand out like that?
man, I knew he was good, but I just previously come off another fight in Greece, just like how long ago would that have been? A month or a couple of months before, and I fought a different guy, another guy from Kazakhstan as well at the same weight, and he was just as good as well. He beat me as well.
But that whole Eastern Bloc is so good at that
so good, yeah.
that amateur style of boxing as well. And then now they're transferring to the pros really, really well as
That's
well.
it. Yep. So you never know. Like the first guy, the second guy, third guy, fourth guy, they're all good. So they're not separated by a great deal. So they're all trained really well. But yeah, like to be honest, like I remember the fight a little bit against Golovkin, but it wasn't like that was the best guy that I'd ever fought. But yeah, he was definitely good though. Because I just sort of come off fighting a guy from Japan. I beat a guy from Japan in the first fight in the semi-finals, and he was tough. And just one of them non-stop Japanese fighters that threw like 300 punches around.
Like, what was the guy's name? Fighting Harada, the one that fought Lionel Rose.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's it. Yeah, it was like that.
but bigger.
Yeah. Old welterweight. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was a good fight.
You know, I saw a kid fight in the amateurs, right? Because I was at Youth Olympic Games with the wrestling team, and Damien Hooper.
Yep.
I saw him fight, and he won that. He won the gold medal at the Youth Olympic Games.
Yeah.
And he was like a kid that I watched him fight. I watched every single one of his fights there because it was after the wrestling. And he like walked it. He made it look easy, and I thought this guy's going to go the whole way, you know.
Yep.
And now it looks like he just beat a really good Russian dude recently. Might be from that part of. It was definitely from that part of the world, but
yeah.
But he'd gone through a few hiccups or anything. Have you had much to do with Damien?
No, I haven't had a lot to do with him. I know, yeah, some people that have helped him a little bit over the years, and the guy's like massively talented, got so much skill, and it's just, I guess he lacked that self-control to an extent, and yeah, couldn't sort of keep himself right outside of the ring, outside of training. Sometimes he didn't train properly. He let his natural talent take over, and you know he was one of them guys that, you know, a few of the people around him close used to tell me, like, man, the guy's got the world at his feet, but he just doesn't care, and he doesn't train properly, and he's been beat a couple times by guys that shouldn't have touched him. So I think the last I heard is he'd got himself into a little bit of trouble as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, he had been.
Yeah.
Funny thing, I was at it actually wasn't that funny, but it was at, could it be I was at Byron Bay. I just stopped at Byron Bay. I didn't even go to Byron Bay. I just stopped there just to see it, just to say that I did, because I was up north.
Yep.
I was with my wife and I was eating something, and this dude saw my shirt and he started talking to me about it, and I was like, I don't know, like I didn't know what he was going to say, because he was very like blah 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 blah, and people say all sorts of shit. So I was just waiting for it. It turned out this guy was on his push bike and a guitar. It was Damien Hooper's dad.
Okay.
It was we just started talking about it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then anyways, the next thing I knew, he'd gotten into trouble. But then I just saw recently he just beat this good guy from the Eastern Bloc, you know, like like this guy's good. That's a guy Joe was talking about. We were talking to Joe about him at the AIS together.
Yep.
And Joe was saying that they were running 400 meter times, and they did the lactic test on him, and they said to him, "No, you gotta go faster because you're not pushing your threshold." And then he was running like 400 meter qualifying times, you know, and Joe and that couldn't believe it. And I'd heard that about him as well. Like Mark Wilson.
Yeah.
He's Justice's coach.
Yep.
Yeah, he was telling me the same thing. He goes, this guy goes like he was at the AOS, and they wanted him to join like the AFL program. Like,
everything else,
dude. When I watched him like at Youth Olympic Games, like, you know, it's a smaller comp, but there's still like the Russians, the Cubans, like you're not winning a gold medal there because you're pretty, you know. And he won it like cruised through him, you know, like made it look stupid, you know. I hope he gets his head together because he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Golovkin as a pro.
Yep.
What's at the time you fought him as well? He was like.
Yeah, nobody wanted to fight him.
No. Can you talk on that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean that was sort of my team had spoken to me about it before anyway. You know, before the Mundine. And I didn't actually know about it. That had been agreed upon in the contract before that I was meant to fight him. But my team come to me and said, you know, we're not going to fight Golovkin. We're going to fight Mundine. We will fight
for
Golovkin.
Financial reasons.
It wasn't just for financial reasons. They just wanted, because the rematch. They just wanted to do it at that particular time because it suited us better. And because like you mentioned before. You know, we did fight for the IBO world title, which is a smaller recognised title, but fighting for the IBF, 2 Aboriginal fighters fighting for the IBF world title was like sort of pretty big news. So that's the one that we wanted, and being the rematch as well. So, you know, I guess when the Golovkin thing came about, you know, I was pretty excited by it, but you know, at the same time I knew it was going to be tough. He was definitely the best fighter in the world and the most dangerous fighter in the world, and you know, it was difficult going over to the US. I think we spent a little bit of time before we got there, and pretty much everybody was like just ready to build you a casket to hop into for after the fight. It was like nobody gave us a chance whatsoever, and it was interesting. I guess there were moments when, you know, I try to make sure I stay positive the whole way through, but everybody was just like, man, good luck, and just sort of laughing at you. But
in that fight, I remember you hit him.
Yeah.
You caught him flush, and he actually looked like you thing, but he caught you right at kind of at the same time kind of thing.
Yep.
I know this might sound, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just asking because does he hit as hard as like people say? Like when.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the hardest punches. Something about his,
Is it his timing, or does he just have like hits like iron? Because
hard hands, man. Yeah, he didn't, like, his timing wasn't any different. Like, I've been hit by lots of people, but he was, just I don't know, I don't know what gloves he was using and that, but he had hard hands, and when he hit you, you know, it hurt.
It felt like different to other people.
It did feel different, definitely. But yeah, I mean, the guy, I guess he must have had some natural timing as well. I mean, the thing with Golovkin as well, he wasn't just a puncher like everybody's seen, because he does so much damage when he hits, but he had that boxing pedigree and skill. And it wasn't just his punching ability, it was his footwork as well that he probably didn't get recognised as much. I mean, his feet were so good that's why his power was so good as well.
He's always balanced kind of thing.
That's it. Yeah, he was able to transfer his weight. He was able to, you know, put everything into every punch, and that's why he could hurt just about anybody. Who was your coach, or did you always have the same coach? In the pros, I had Jeff Fennick started me, and then after about a year, I came down this way, and the guys at the Grange got me. Then I had a coach named Graham Shaw. an English guy that took me through in the pros.
And that was always your coach?
Yep.
Where is he now? Is he still coaching here?
He is. He's at Cronulla. He looks after, I think, he was looking after Jack Brubaker. I'm not sure if he has any pros at the moment. Does the PT stuff, but yeah.
When Golovkin was with you, when you fought Golovkin, he was with Abel Sanchez.
That's right. Yep.
Do you know what happened there? Like, do you know anything from a boxing insider's perspective or anything about what happened between them?
No, not really. No, to be honest, like, it was just what I heard in the media as well about the money issues and all that stuff that they had. He seemed like a nice guy. Abel would come up and have a bit of a chat. He had a couple of chats with me about things. The way I sort of seen it as well, like Golovkin, man, he had massive amounts of experience. I think it didn't really matter to Golovkin who his trainer was. Like, I don't think they were going to change him too much in the way that he boxed. I think he just needed somebody to give him some water during the rounds. That was about it.
Can you explain a little bit those you see that those relationships people have with their coaches and or management, and then money, and you don't have to tell us your breakdown in percentages and that, but like how exactly what you just said then, like maybe Abel was a really good coach, maybe he wasn't, maybe he just fitted Golovkin, maybe they had an agreement for finances and then it changed. Can you just speak a little bit about it? Because people sometimes watch, like I was watching, I think John Jones said something along the lines of you should never pay your management more than 10 or 15% at most or whatever. And, people say all different stuff. And somebody was asking me something along those lines, and I was like, man, I don't know, because I can't speak. Every situation's different. I think paying someone 1% if they don't do a proper job is way too much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I think paying someone 5% is too much again if they don't do a proper job.
For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I guess to begin with as well, like with my team, early on, you're getting paid bugger all. So early on, that's where the coaches, the management, all of them, they're the ones taking a little bit of a risk because they're getting paid. The fighter's getting paid not much. They're getting paid not much.
Coaches are usually paying at that point.
100%. Yeah, they're not really getting anything out of it. So I guess they're hoping, and they probably see that there's potential there, so they're trying to bring out that potential. But I guess a lot of things have to fit in place for them to be able to make money, for everybody to be able to make money. So sometimes coaches get a little bit frustrated because they're only on a percentage, and all of a sudden, the fighter's earning, I don't know, 10 grand. So the coach might get his 10% or whatever of that. Then all of a sudden down the track, the fighter gets $1 million, and so their pay rate goes up a lot as well. But they're still seeing the fighter take the massive percentage. So I guess it can be a little bit tough in that respect, where they probably feel like they've brought the fighter along to that position, and they may not be getting what they deserve out of it. But everybody's different. Some people love that journey. Some trainers love that journey. Like I know myself as a coach these days, if I'm taking a fighter, I'm not worried about how much I'm going to be getting paid. Obviously if it's your job, you want to get something out of it. But do
you see yourself coaching in the future?
Yeah, definitely. Like I do a bit already with some of the amateurs and stuff. I coach some amateurs and.
But you see you doing that into the future, like as in like you want to have a stable of pros.
I've been thinking about it, man. It's tough in Australia. Like I've had people ask me before to do stuff with them. I've got a young talented kid that his dad and that have been asking me to start doing stuff with him. He's just about to turn pro, and I want to really help, but also know how hard it can be, especially if you don't have the backing behind you.
What's your take on that? Just the finances and that people like, just the finances, keeping a team together through adversity, I suppose, because I read this quote yesterday. It was something like like success has like 1,000 fathers and defeat has none. You know what I mean? Like no one wants to be around. How much was the difference when you lost to when you had your losses?
Yep.
Versus how much people. Sorry, Rob, I'll get back to you in 1 sec. But but I was just on this. Like, how big was the difference between when you won a world title,
yep,
and when you lost it?
That was a big difference. Yeah. I mean, you go back after the fight, like it takes you. Like Rob probably knows pretty well too. Like after you win a big fight like that, you win a world title, and you got hundreds of people trying to talk to you on the way back to the dressing room. You finally get back to the dressing room, and you got the dressing room's full, which is fun at the time. Like you're like, this is cool. You lose, you're walking back to the dressing room on your own. You get back, and there's like half a dozen in there or something. Everybody says their bit, and then it's like quiet. I mean, that's just the way it is. But there's that core group of people that will still be always around you. But it's just funny seeing all the ones, when you're successful, all the ones that want to be around you, and how quickly it can change.
I'll come back to you because I've got something else to ask, but can you speak on that, on the finances, not necessarily your percentage breakdowns, but just keeping everyone together, keeping the team together, what that's like, what it's been like, financially and whatnot.
Yeah, it's tricky. It really is, because one, I was never really good at maths, and two, because I guess with a team like the tight knit team that like we have, for instance, it's you want to do right by your guys, like by your teammates, by your coaches, by your staff, but you also trying to make a living. You're also trying to get ahead, So trying to find that balance between paying the staff, if you would, like their amount due, so what their responsibilities and roles dictates they should get, as well as how much like you can afford to give, because it's crazy the amount of expenses that pop up with managing a team. It's like for me for example, like after I've paid my team wages and my tax.
How good is tax in Australia? Taxes are mad, eh?
Don't get me started. Like after
you get a big chunk of money like that.
After I pay my team wages and after I pay my tax, I'll be lucky to walk away with 40% of what I make. Lucky, and then that has to be like dribbled out until the next fight, which you have to prepare for the worst, hope for the best. So like you're preparing not to fight for a couple of years, but you hopefully can get another fight in 4 months, but it's just trickling away, and then and it's not only hard for you, because it's hard for your coaching staff and all that, because when you're not making money, they're not making money, so we're all kind of just like trickling downwards, hoping Robbie doesn't break his leg before the next fight. It's not the best place to be in when you're trying to fight for world titles.
Yeah, it definitely is tough. I know myself as well. Like a couple of fights, and I know you had the thing where you couldn't fight. You missed out on the fight recently, and
twice.
Yeah, I went through a couple of occasions as well where I was meant to fight, or more than a couple actually. I was meant to fight the last week. Things changed. I was meant to fight Daniel Dawson for the IBO title twice, and both times a week before I pulled out. So I spent 12-week preparations for nothing, and at that stage, like, had no money as well. So we're just training along, trying to survive a couple of little sponsors, and then no payday at the end of it. So the credit cards are getting like racked up. They're racking up, and the bills are starting to rack up, and you're just waiting to get paid at the end of it so you can get back to even.
Yeah, it's crazy like that. And then your next fight, like the pressure of the fight's still there, but also that if you don't fight, you don't have a roof over your head the next month. Like, and that's terrible.
Daniel, how quick? You when you lose a fight, say for example the first Mundine fight, you lost that fight,
yep.
And then all the people that were riding your bandwagon that were just, because you seem like quite a reserved guy,
yep.
Which probably takes care of the extravagance of having a massive bandwagon, so to speak.
Yep.
But they still creep their way in there.
Yeah.
You know, and like everyone's the same. But you know how quick when you lose, those guys that were on the peripheries disappear. But this is the thing that interests me the most. How quick after you win again do those same people try and...
Yeah, they come back.
How quick do they come back?
That's straight away. Yeah.
It's fucking amazing to me. Like, there are people that I look at and I think, like, even now, like, obviously Rob's loss or whatever, and other losses that there's been, or, you know, just watching other people that I know, because I've also worked with, you know, other football players or whatever, and they go through bad stuff, and the same kind of deal, you know, not as much emphasis as individual sport, but sometimes I watch people and I think, like, you know, like, I think, you know, you're doing this publicly, you know that there's going to be a tomorrow, you know that, like, and people have no fucking shame, like, zero.
That's it. It's how it's always been, though. I mean, it's probably never changed. That's just how it is.
Combat sports is ruthless, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the from the ground up. So from the fans that watch it to like the guys that run it, it's just it's ruthless. Me and Justin for sure were talking about it on the weekend. It's just like it is cutthroat. It is such a cutthroat sport.
It shocks me.
Yeah, like, but not only for the fighter, but for the coaching staff, and then it's just such a ruthless sport.
I think one of the big things that I would, my little bit of advice, if you will, I don't know if advice would be the term that I'd give, is like when you have coaches or when you have that, I think it's important, my opinion, to have a situation where people are okay financially, because like if it was a situation where Rob wasn't okay financially, I wasn't all right financially, our business partners weren't or whatever, and we were all actually relying on Rob, that's when I think people get, even if you're a good guy, you get desperate. Yep. We're lucky we've got other business interests that, like, you know, this, like, that's not what I live off, you know what I mean? So that makes a big difference. But I think if that's the only thing you have going for you, even if you want to be a good guy as a coach or manager, but if that's the only way you're going to make a living, it forces you to be completely ruthless, you know what I mean? Like, lose your scruples, I think. Yeah. That's probably one of the biggest things for me that I've noticed. Like, if you've got other things that are where you make your money and that, then it's not too bad.
Yep. You
know, but the dudes that this is the only thing that they live off, that gets a little bit ugly for me, I think. But that's me. You know? Yeah. I was going to ask you as well, Cotto, you fought him on that, what's that called? Like, it's the weekend where it's like the Puerto Rican...
Yeah, Puerto Rican Day thing.
It's Puerto Rican. You fought him during that weekend, eh?
Yes. Yeah.
Do they love him as much as you see on TV?
Yeah.
They really do?
Yeah, they're crazy. They love him.
Who's better, him or Golovkin at their best, do you think?
Golovkin. Yeah, Golovkin. I mean, Cotto was good. Fuck, he was really good, but he... he's a smaller fighter. He really should have been junior middleweight, but they wanted him at middleweight. He was, that's why when I fought him, they made me get down to it's almost that junior middleweight limit, 71.3. It was like they almost killed me, just to sort of drain me a little bit as well. And they do that to some of the other bigger fighters as well. They make them fight at cash weights when it's not natural for them as well.
And you can't say no to that, or is that the cash you're saying?
Yeah, well,
you say no to the cash.
You say no to that. You say no to the fight. So it's pretty much they put it on the table. This is part of the contract. If you don't want it, we'll get the next guy. And there's always plenty of next guys. So
how hard was it for you to get down that weight?
It was hard. Like the whole lead up to the fight was tough. Like I came down from, because they stuffed me up as well, and I should have known better. They stuffed me up with the contract. They kept holding it off. Getting me to sign for it. And at one stage I don't know whether it was mind games as well. They were gonna get me to fight. Oh God, what was his name? I forgot his name. Andre Ward. And they were talking about me fighting Andre Ward instead of Cotto at that time. It's like,
but Andre Ward's bigger.
That's right. It was that super middleweight.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, like, I'm a little bit heavy in that at the moment. I'm thinking, well, 76.2. man, I'm not going to have to lose as much weight, so I'm just holding off.
Wait, did they want you? What weight did they want you for Cotto at?
71.3.
They wanted you for 71.3 with Cotto,
Yep.
but they were saying you might fight at 76 with Andre Ward.
Yeah. So that was
That's a big discrepancy.
massive. It was massive, and I was sort of like I was sitting around mid-80s at that stage, and I'm thinking like get
So you're
down.
walking around, what, 85 kilos?
Yeah, sort of 84, 85.
And you have to get down to 71.
Yeah. So I pulled myself
It's a
down.
big drop.
Yeah, it was a massive drop. And the thing was with that, like, that made it extra hard. That preparation, I blood and urine tested 5 times in that preparation, like twice in Australia and then 3 times when I was over in the US. So we're over there for a month before the fight, and each time, like the tests, like it was mainly the urine test. Well, it was the urine test. Like it took so long because I was that like dehydrated at I suppose at that stage, or it took me that long to take a piss.
Who governed who governed the test? Was it an independent test?
Yeah, I can't remember. It's some US authority. Yeah, can't remember who done it exactly, but I always question whether or not Cotto would have been tested the same amount of times, or whether they just sort of targeted me. Just
Because you look like a guy that just gears off his head.
Yeah.
When you look at some combat athletes, you go, Daniel Geale, that's the guy.
Well,
he's on it.
Yeah, for sure.
He's on it.
But they knew making me having to lose that much weight, like, they knew I wouldn't have been on any gear, but anything to help me lose the weight. They probably thought I was going to take something to help me lose the weight.
You know what would have destroyed me is that, exactly as you said before, when they said you might be fighting Andre Ward, because in your head you're like, I don't need to diet that hard because I could still be fighting at 76. And like,
you want to gain some strength.
Yeah,
as well.
when you're you're kind of on the fence, so you're not dieting hard yet when you should be, but you're not. Yeah, you're just kind of cruising still, and you're just wasting away the time needed to lose that weight.
But 71 kilos is light for a guy because you're not a small guy.
Yeah. I used to do it hard to get to 72 and a half. It was not that much different, but
it is. But that 1 kilo, when you get down,
it's always that 1 kilo.
Yeah.
It's always that 1 kilo or 500 grams. That's like, I think I'm gonna die.
That last little bit of sweat, where it just doesn't want to come out. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
How hard was it for you to what was the procedure that you'd go through to make weight?
I mean, I was pretty strict on myself the whole way through, but the last probably 4 to 5, maybe more kilos, it's just the sweat. So you're just balancing your sweat sessions with the amount of water that goes back in your body. So you're pretty much getting on the scales, fully dehydrated, and then it's just a matter of that 24-hour period, just being able to put enough back in to replenish as much as you can.
Going back to, can you tell us your journey? So from when you were a young fellow, you grew up in, so you were in Launceston.
Yep.
And you did all your schooling there?
Yes.
And can you tell us, going back to telling us a little bit more about that, like primary school, who you were in that at that time?
Yep. And I wasn't really exciting, to be honest. Like, I was a pretty quiet kid. I've always been quiet the whole way through. Even if you'd been able to speak to any of my teachers, like, they'll probably tell you I was a pretty quiet kid. Didn't really get into too much trouble. Did my work. I guess it wasn't until I got into high school and people started to notice me, probably year 8, year 9, people started to notice me because of the success that I started to have in boxing. I started like having a little bit of success playing Aussie rules footy and that as well, and people started to take a little bit of notice there, but definitely more so in boxing. Just made a bit of a name for myself, winning some national titles in the amateurs, and it's pretty quiet. Like, I went on and did year 11, 12, and actually I stayed and did year 13 at school as well. The reason I did that was I wanted to do a little bit more study, but also it was 99, and my goal was to make the 2000 Olympics, and I knew at that stage if I went out and got a job, it would have made it really difficult for me to to be able to keep training. But being able to do that schooling, especially picking the study that I wanted to do, gave me time, freed up my time to be able to train as much as I wanted to. I kept my coach happy as well.
And that was all in Launceston?
Yes, all in Launceston.
So, but it's tiny there, eh? 85,000 people or something.
Yeah, small population.
First city in Australia to have underground sewage. Huh?
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
Yeah, look out.
Famous for two things.
There you go.
Daniel Geale and underground sewage.
You learn something new every time on Grange TV.
That's it. And the apples down there too.
They're meant to have really good. Are they as good as they say?
Yeah, well, I remember one day there was a good story. Like I trained in the morning with my coach, and he smashed me bad. Put me on the scales after training. I was heavy, and like he was really disappointed in me, and I got the shit. So it was only like a kilo overweight or something after training, and so I had the shits to myself as well about it, and so I went home and I just kept thinking about it. I thought, I gotta go for a run. So I put on my gear, and it was a cold day. I went for a run, and I thought, no, I got to go further. So I just kept going and going, and I ended up, I had no idea how far I'd actually run. And I run up past this apple orchard as well on the side of the road, and most, like, the trees were pretty much bare. And I went past the apple orchard, and I thought, that's got to be far enough. So I turned around, come back, and I was feeling like pretty exhausted at the stage, and I looked across the road at the apple orchard, and like I said, all the trees were bare, but there's this one big yellow apple sitting on the tree. I thought, man, that's mine. So I raced across the road, grabbed this apple, and still to this day, it took me about 10 minutes to eat it, but it was the best apple I've ever eaten in my life, and I still swear it's the only thing that got me back home. And I ended up, when I got back home... That's
like a biblical thing, eh? That's like Eden.
Don't eat it.
It was just the best tasting apple, and I reckon I had like a litre of apple juice in it. It was so good. And then I got my car, and I thought, I'm going to see how far that run was. So I ended up driving it, and it ended up being 28 Ks. So it was,
you did a 28K run?
Yeah.
I gotta say, there's no level of disappointment in myself that could make me run 28 Ks. I've done some bad things, but I would never run 28 Ks to try and get over it.
It wasn't my intention, but yeah, I just
28 Ks.
It was a good run. It was a hard run.
No wonder that apple felt so good.
I was gonna say
you were borderline dead.
But 28 Ks in Launceston.
Yep.
It's not like you're in the bush.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of nowhere.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it is. I've landed in Hobart in the airport in Hobart, and you're in the wilderness.
So you practically ran around the island.
Pretty much. One end to the other.
And is the farming, the agriculture, is it as good as they say?
Yeah. Food quality is so good down there. Fishing, the food down there is the best. The meat, everything.
I've been itching to go for a while now.
To do that run?
Definitely not.
I'll show you the run.
No, just to
go, Daniel, do the run with him.
I don't know. Just
make welterweight.
Just to go. Just to go.
Would you raise your? It's beautiful. I've been there twice.
Now that he said that the food quality is like.
The best.
No, the food's the best, man.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to go.
Did you go with me when we had the seafood?
Yeah, we went to the wharf or whatever. Best seafood.
In Hobart was crazy, man. Would you raise your kids in Launceston, or are you going to stay here?
Man, I'd love to go back, and I've spoken to a few people about going back, but I guess the only reason I haven't gone back yet is the opportunities down there maybe a little bit less.
They are a lot less.
Yeah.
What do you say? A little bit. I was like,
I was trying to
come on, man.
But
unless you're an apple farmer, they're a lot less.
Yeah, true. But yeah, definitely up here. Like it's our home. Like we've been here for a lot of years now. Like I've been out of Tassie for a very long time, so it would be a big change for us to go back, and the only reason to go back would be because of the family.
How big of a deal are you in Launceston when you go back?
I guess a few people know me back there. They gave me the key to the city a few years back, which was pretty cool. I'll try and get down there as much as I can.
They gave you the keys to the city of Launceston.
Yes.
What other notable people have come out of there?
Ricky Ponting.
He came from there.
Yeah. He actually grew up in the same area that I did. So, yeah, he started off in this little suburb, crappy little suburb, but it was an awesome place called Rochalee. He ended up moving down to Mowbray and playing his cricket down at Mowbray. But still in Launceston.
Okay. And now you said you had a son. He's coming up. He's 15 years old. He started boxing. Has he had his first boxing fight?
No, not at this stage. He's only really just started, like maybe a couple of months with me. His intention is to fight. He's keen on getting in the ring, so that's exciting. Like I always said the whole way through, I'd never pressure any of my kids into boxing, but if they wanted to learn, I'd be happy to teach them. And when my son Bailey asked me about it, he actually come out months and months ago, and he said he wanted to be a kickboxer, and I said no worries, I got a few places I can take you. I can find you a coach. And then when we were down in Tasmania, I went to see my old boxing coach, and I think that's maybe played on his mind a little bit. See my old boxing coach, and I said, Bailey, tell Graham what you want to do now. You want to be a kickboxer? And he's like, my old coach went, and my old coach is like, what is he, 70 something now? He's like, wow, what do you want to do that for? So why don't you want to get to boxing? So that's why I think it sort of got into Bailey's mind a little bit, and he come to me and he said, teach me how to box. Are you doing
personal training at the moment?
Yes. Yeah.
Where can people find you? What's the name of your business?
It's just Daniel Geale Fitness. So yeah, just on Facebook. People get in touch with me on that.
Because you're a graduate of the GAP program.
Yes.
You did the GAP program.
That's right.
And you did jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah. Came along. I always wanted to come back and do a little bit more. Just never got enough time. I had fun. It was
killed 6
awesome.
people.
I remember.
Did you enjoy the GAP program?
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, and I had a great time. And the times that I came in, I think I only came here for a few sessions of jiu-jitsu, and I had a ball. Like I found it easier rolling around with the bigger guys. There was I think 1 or 2 of the smaller guys. And because I've never done it before, with the gi on especially, and I was just sort of rolling with one guy, and he grabbed the gi, and I could see what was happening. And he started putting it up around my throat, and I just cracked up laughing. It was just funny to me because I couldn't do anything, but because it was like what I've done. You can see things, everything's in fast motion, but doing that stuff, it's in slow motion basically, and it just seemed funny to me, but it probably wasn't funny because he would have got choked out. It was pretty cool, like sort of getting into the mindset of I guess what you needed to do to be able to achieve something.
Did you enjoy grappling, bud? Did you like?
Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was definitely a different way of looking at things, and I knew with what I did, how much depth there was within that as well, and I knew how much I had to learn. It's
funny, and a lot of people don't understand that. Like when they do a sport, they don't understand that whatever other sport you go do, it has there's a whole depth of it that you have to learn.
You got to start at the bottom again. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, I guess. Did you? Oh, before we go, because I wanted to ask about the weekend's fights, if you don't mind, just see what your thoughts were on the Shogun Rua fight versus Paul Craig.
That was an interesting fight, because I thought there'd be a lot more ground game prevalent. There was, but you usually came off Paul Craig pulling guard, which we've seen him do a couple times before. I don't like pulling guard in MMA. I don't think being on your back. I understand there are some really good Dewey guys that love that sort of game and can play from there, but being on your back when someone can punch you is, I don't know, it's not.
How successful do you feel he was off his back?
I don't think he was successful as he's been in some of his other fights. You know, it's because I think there's a real element of especially someone like Shogun who's been in that position a lot. He knows how to shut down someone's like a good back player's game. He knows how to shut those down, and he did. It really was. It was a draw, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's they're so far and few between those draws. They're always like a rare occurrence when you see it. But both guys really put it in there, and had like I was really surprised at Craig's how long he stood for. Like he actually tried to.
He had some success in the first round.
Yeah, very very much so. You know, yeah, it's crazy to see Shogun still in it though, like fighting those hard fights, like those drawn out hard fights. He's been in the game for a long time.
He's probably 39 or something now.
Yeah, but it's not just his age; it's like the amount of fights and the type of fights he's had. Like, and now he's had like another 3-round hard fight. You saw him, when I saw him getting out of the octagon after that fight. I was like, mate, you look tired. Obviously, he was tired from the fight, but he just looks tired. Like his soul looked tired. I was like come on, man.
What did you think of the Jacare and Blachowicz fight?
That was a close fight, wasn't it? I thought Jacare did enough to win that fight, but
how do you think he lost it? Or how do you think Blachowicz won?
I don't know. I don't honestly. I thought Jacare did enough. I thought he controlled the first 3 rounds really well. Like actually, he controlled a lot of it really well. Like I think being held up against the fence. Although he wasn't very active, I think if you're getting held up against the fence and you can't do anything about it, and you're kind of just sitting there and playing that, you're losing the round.
But did Blachowicz do more damage, do you feel, when he was free?
Oh, I think you know what
And we're probably saying his name very, very wrong.
Very wrong. But you know what though, like I thought Jacare did very well to cover up, move forward. I think Blachowicz did very well to take centre ring a lot of times, and like I think Jacare's game plan was really well. I think Blachowicz's way of adapting to what Jacare was doing, which was like getting close, throw heavy hands but real tight high guard, and come in close and then push him up against the fence. I think Blachowicz caught on. I think probably in the second round to start turning those angles and keep it out. But that was a close fight. That was a very, very close fight to score. You know?
Okay, what's next for Jacare in your opinion?
Well, yeah, he's another guy that's had a lot of fights. You know, I think he looks pretty good at light heavyweight.
He did, eh?
I think he looks very good. I don't know how, like, because we've spoken about this before. I don't know how well his game plan, like his game transfers to light heavyweight, because they're bigger dudes, and I think when you're walking around a bit heavier, you are you lose some of your gas tank, or
I think the problem is that guys like Jacare and Weidman traditionally are the bigger guys in the 185 division, so they're able to implement that game more effectively, I think, than they will at light heavyweight. It's a little bit harder. I think it's a little bit harder to get those big guys that can grapple down. Yeah,
I thought Jacare looked really, really good at light heavy, but in saying that, he's had a lot of fights. He's on his age is up there now. What is he, 39, 40?
40. And I was going to ask you this, Daniel, seeing that we're not saying that you're anywhere close to 40.
No, I'm not that far away.
What's it like in a combat sport as you start to get older? Like how, because you fought into what, you're 33, 34? How old were you when you had your last fight?
Last fight, so 3 years ago, so 35.
So yeah, so you fought well into your 30s.
Yep.
What's the difference between that and fighting, and what advice could you give a young whippersnapper like Rob at age 28?
Yep. I mean, take advantage at the moment, because, like I found, you know, up until probably, even maybe a little bit before that actually, but, you know, every preparation is tough, but injuries start to become more prevalent sort of when you're in your 30s. So we get to 32, 33, even 34. Everything starts breaking down so much easier. So that's when I learned, especially around those times, that you really need to start to do a lot more recovery stuff. See physio more, which just all adds up as well. Like we were talking about before about the money that you gotta, pay your people. Like you gotta pay your medical costs and that as well. Every preparation, which definitely adds up massively. Massage, physio, everything. So I guess it's more about how you looked after yourself in the past as well. Like I know there were plenty of people around that once they do hit 30, they're done. Their body's rooted. But for me, like I was able to get into my 30s and fight on for a little while, like into my mid 30s before my body really started to break down. And to be honest now, like if I decided to pull the gloves back on now, I've looked after myself for a couple of years and my body feels good.
Do you think you got a few more fights in you?
I haven't ruled it out, but the big thing is it's not for me. It's not about the physical side of things now. It's about the mental side of things. It's got to be for the right reasons. I always said all along, like I'm not in it just to make money. I'm not in it, just for the fun of it. I'm there because I got a job to do and I wanted to be the best that I could possibly be. Whether it was to win a fight against so and so or to just to win a world title. Always had goals set high, and if my goals weren't set right, and I'd rather not worry about it.
Okay. When was it that you saw, like, say for example, because it's something we talk about with Rob as well a lot.
Yep.
At which point, like that, like say for example, you can when you're younger, you train and you seem to train and just improve. You train and improve and you train and improve. And at what point in your age did you start going, fuck, I'm probably not going to keep getting better. Like I'm better, smarter, more experienced.
Yep.
But at which point was it more about you going, I've got to try and elongate my career and try and keep the skills that I have, plus my experience that I have now, and try and keep that timeline going. Versus like, when you're 22, you look at someone when they're 22 and at 27,
yep,
and they improve just because they kept going to training.
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest thing I believe, like when I hit 30, and from that period from when I was 30 to 35, I think for me, what I look back on now, what I should have done is, I guess, tried to make sure I improved somehow, even if I had to change things a few times or whatever. But at that stage, I felt like I plateaued a little bit. Like I was fighting some of the best fighters in the world. And I was still playing myself to an extent. My team a little bit in the fact that, each preparation was very similar, even though the opponents were very, very different as well. So, I felt like I was, I prepared for a guy, which is a great Australian fighter, Jared Fletcher, the same way that I prepared for Miguel Cotto. And for me, that was, in that respect, it was silly thinking that was okay, where I think maybe I needed to, I guess set the standards or set the level just that little bit higher if I wanted to be probably that little bit more competitive and put that little bit of extra pressure on myself. But in saying that as well, like I think at that last point, when you're just about to fight, if you do put too much pressure on yourself as well, you definitely will fall down. So it's being able to find that balance is the key, because if you don't have enough pressure on yourself through the training camp, you put too much pressure on yourself at the end, man, it's not going to work. So you got to find that balance for it.
Okay. Where can people find you for anything? Can they follow you on Instagram or Twitter or anything?
Instagram. So it's Daniel Geale Official.
Here's what I found.
That's so weird.
I don't know.
Have you been looking him up a lot?
I don't know how you
That was so weird.
Set up perfect.
That was weird.
Yeah, so I'm on.
We certainly didn't mean that, because
that's all right.
our producers are terrible.
Feel free to click the link.
Yeah. So say Daniel Geale official.
Daniel Gill official, yeah, and on Facebook I've got the fan page. Probably not as active as I used to be on that, but like there's the fitness page that I have as well now. Still accessible with any of those.
Okay, awesome. Oh, just before we go, can you shout out someone for me, please? I got to hold on 1 second. I'll tell you who to shout out.
Cool. I like the suspense.
Saved the right to the end to get 4 more viewers.
Yeah, here we
So
go.
they had to watch the whole thing.
Here we go. They're trying to take back their dislike right now.
This one here. Try and do it natural too. Try and pretend that you're not reading it off my phone.
It's like
You don't have to say it verbatim. You've ruined it. You're not very spontaneous, are you?
well, what do you want from me, dude?
I could do that. They don't
I'm,
want to hear
I'm
it
an improv guy. Like
improv.
okay.
That's all you need to know is that.
All right.
Last 4 weeks. Off you go.
What? So where do I go from?
This is so spontaneous.
This is all. Yeah. So what, I just got to say all that.
Yes.
Okay. Here we go. Quick shout out to Team Bianca and for my fans at HubSpot. Go hard for your last 4 weeks and enjoy your Christmas break.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Thanks again for coming in, mate.
Thanks, Daniel.
Awesome, appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
buddy.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.